Hey guys, welcome back to another video with Ole Florida. My name's Mike. Today we're going to be taking a look at two different types of resins. The first one is going to be an epoxy type, and the second one is going to be a UV cure type. Starting off with the epoxy, this is going to be a two-part chemical reaction. So when these are mixed together, they kick off the set time. Z-epoxy does make a whole bunch of different set times, so 5 minutes is a pretty convenient time to work with for flies. So with the epoxy resins, once we mix it on a post-it note with our toothpick, we'll go ahead and mix equal parts. We'll apply it to our fly. Once we kind of build that desired shape we want, we'll come in here with one of our dryers, basically twist the fly in the hand to get it to your desired look. As soon as you have that desired look, turn that sucker on and throw it in there. This wheel is just going to keep it spinning nice and evenly. So without this, you will be sitting there in between your flies, taking a while to dry. This is almost a necessity while working with epoxy. So the UV cure is exactly how it sounds. This is going to be Loon, but we do carry Gulf and Deer Creek and other resins. The UV is basically, when exposed to ultraviolet light, it does cure or get hard. One kind of little drawback with the UV in general, most of the time it'll stay a little tacky. You can either, there's two ways to really remedy it. You can either take an alcohol cloth and rub the head or rub where you went over with the UV after it fully cures, or you can take something like hard as whole and go over it with a small brush, and then it will cure extremely hard like the epoxy. It does add an extra step. If you leave it out in the sun for a couple hours, 4 or 5 hours, it will dry very close to being not tacky, but it still kind of has that little residue when you touch it. So that's just a small thing to note. So Zap is actually going to be around 30 to 40% heavier on the fly compared to something like Loon. In the same amount of material, it's just more dense. So that's another main thing to note. That's why Darren ties his Eat Me fly with epoxy. It's a little bit heavier to get that fly down a little bit more. Another thing to touch on is the ease of use. If you're just starting out with resins and you want to build heads or spoon flies or anything like that, I would highly suggest going with a UV resin. These small bottles with the applicator tip, you can build your fly slowly, as with the epoxy, you cannot. Say you're building a spoon fly and you're doing a wire frame, you can actually build one round with the or with the Loon, with the UV, hit it with the light, and then build another layer, hit it with the light, and it will cure. With the epoxy, you can, but it would take absolutely forever. It's not recommended. Ease of use, definitely give the upper hand to any UV resin over epoxy. A couple small nuances that I want to talk about with the UV and the epoxy. These small applicator tips, really convenient for getting pinpoint accuracy when applying resin. As far as mixing the two parts of epoxy, if you take a post-it note with a toothpick, that also works great. The only thing is applying it with a toothpick can be a little tricky and a little daunting to start with. UV resin is pretty easy. Once you put it on with the applicator tip, you hit it with the light, within a couple seconds, you're right where you want it to be. Not that I'm totally dissing the epoxy, but Loon is just so much easier to work with. As far as durability goes, I would give the upper hand to epoxy over the UV resins. Epoxy is some really durable stuff. Like I said, it does get a little bit harder and a little bit heavier than the UV stuff. So if you're tying like a popper that you really want to throw on seawalls all day long, then again, it still might break, but I would definitely go with the epoxy over the Loon in that situation. So everyone's pretty much familiar with the Loon lineup and their products. I just want to give a quick shout out to Gulf. They make some pretty awesome resins as far as color goes and styles go. This is actually Flexman, so if you have a fly that you still want to be a little bit malleable, maybe you want to put it on legs or take a toothpick and brush it into material on the head, basically like a Softex, this is the way to go. Their colors are extremely cool. They're bright, fluorescent, and UV, so pretty sweet. Check them out. One of the cool benefits of using UV cure resin is the viscosity. So Loon actually has 3 different viscosities here. They have the flow, the thick, and the thin. It's a little bit different with epoxy. You don't really get that. You only have one mixture, basically what you get when you mix it. Like I said, the Loon has 3 different ones to get that perfect kind of head. If you want to get inside the material, covering thread wraps, the thin or the flow obviously is the way to go. If you want to build a bigger, thicker head, such as like an Eat Me, going with the thick, hitting it with the light in between a coat or two, it builds heads and bigger profiles much easier. Thanks for watching today's video. We hope you learned a little bit about resins and made your choice up if you want to tie with either of these. We offer free shipping anywhere in the US with no minimum, so head on over to our website, olefloridaflyshop.com, for all your fly fishing needs. And as always, we hope to see you out on the water.